my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Andy, sometimes Mouse, and I talk about books and book-related things, and today I'm giving you my mid-year check-in. So I know a lot of people use the like mid-year tag. I don't. I could, but I don't, because I don't personally find my reading that stressful. Support y'all though. Y'all stay safe. But I am just going to go ahead and give you my mid-year wrap-up. If you are not wrap year, I keep calling it mid-year wrap-up. It is not a wrap-up. I don't know why I keep calling it that. If you are not a stats person, this is not the video for you. You might want to watch any of my other videos. This video is going to be very, very stats heavy. I use Art's spreadsheet to track all of my stuff. It has been personalized for me, and actually in 2024 I just like used the spreadsheet from 2023 and just revamped it for myself. So there's that. But go support Art. Art makes incredible Google Sheets documentation and just incredible Google Sheets docs, and I really, really love using that to track my stuff, and that's how I get these numbers. So there's that. Let's go ahead and talk about the stats. Let's go ahead and get this show on the road, if you will. I am using my Hobonichi Avec, the A6. I basically made all of my stats that I wanted to talk about here into a little spread and printed them out, and that's what I've been using. That's actually what I've been using month to month in previous months. This was before I knew that's what I wanted to do, but then I just like made them for monthly wrap-ups, and then this one I'm using now, I kind of revamped the monthly wrap-up one so that it included all of these other stats. So yeah, let's get the show on the road. So far as of June, well, by the end of June, I will have read, because there are some books I haven't finished yet, but we'll move on. I'll have read 147 books. Total pages will be 26,673. The hours listened, and this only comes in the days format, is 40 days, 1 hour, and 48 minutes worth. It takes me an average of 2.8 days per book to finish a book. I read an average of 25 books per month, or have so far. My average pages per day is 148 pages, 148.97 pages, and my average hours listened per day is 6 hours, 49 minutes, and 26 seconds. If you will recall, and I've talked about it before, two things about the pages and the audiobook stats. The pages is I only include that stat for books that have pages. So if I'm listening to a book, I don't put pages anywhere in the stats so that it isn't trying to pull that information, because that doesn't count as pages read to me. And then for hours listened, I want to preface with I listen to a lot of books on 2 times speed or 3 times speed or somewhere in between those two. So when I say I listen to an average of 6 hours and 49 minutes per day, it's more like 2 hours and some change. So nobody think that I just like literally sit and listen for 6 hours every single day to audiobooks. I think I would actually lose it. So there was a time in my life where I actually would have listened to 6 hours every day, but I'm not there anymore. We're medicated now. I purchased a total of 12 books, which cost $153.33. Considering we're 6 months in, I would say that that's not too bad. That's about 2 books per month. And this is the part that's really more exciting for me. I checked out 75 library books, which made up a total of 51% of my reading. That number will come up again later, but that saved me a total of $1,193.30. That's super cool. I should also probably at some point pull the stat for like when I'm borrowing books from friends, how much money that's also saving me, because I think that's interesting, but that is a problem for later me. My total rereads this year has been 13, which made up 9% of my reading. The formatting of the books that I read were 78 audiobooks, which made up 53% of my reading, 45 were ebooks, which made up 31% of my reading, and 24 were physical books, which made up 16% of my reading, and I think that's kind of high for me, the physical book stat. For intended audiences, 96 of the books I read were adult, which made up 65% of my reading, and if you'll recall, a couple of years ago I made it kind of my mission to read more adult than young adult books, and I've really finally now I don't even have to think about it, I just do. For young adult books, I read 45, which made up 31% of my reading, and for children or middle grade books, I read 6 books, which made up 4% of my reading. When it comes to genres, and I will have a book blanket update video, and it should come after this video, I believe, so stay on the lookout for that. So it should be either in, I think, next week or the week after. I'm not totally sure. I don't remember my schedule off the top of my head, but here we are. They are in order of most to least. So for fantasy, I read 43 books, which made up 29% of my reading. Horror, we have 31, which made up 21%. Thriller, 21, 14%. Sci-fi, 16, 11%. Contemporary, 10, 7%. Romance, 5, 3%. Classics, 4, 3%. And historical, 1%. I'm kind of surprised and pleased with the way that that is coming along. Horror has always been my favorite genre, but it's never really represented itself well in my stats because I'm a little bit pickier about horror. But now that I live, I don't know, 10 minutes away from a literal horror bookstore, I just be getting books. So there's that. The other thing that I'm a little bit proud of and a little bit pleased about was a goal that I had this year was that I wanted to read at least one nonfiction book a month, because I feel like that's really good for growth and learning and just broadening horizons and learning more about other people's experiences, etc. And so for my fiction versus nonfiction, I read a total of 131 fiction books, making up 89% of my reading, but I read 16 nonfiction books, making up 11% of my reading, which across 6 months, that's great. That's really good. That's more than 2 books per month, so I'm really pleased about that. For the sources for where I get all of my books, where I've been reading all of my books, because I know that some people wonder about that, especially because of how much I read. They're like, but you're not buying a ton of books, so where are you getting all of these books? Like I said earlier, 75 of the books that I've read this year came from the library, making up 51% of my reading. 26 of them were borrowed from friends, either they're Audible or like physically borrowing the book, etc. And that made, that's 26 books, and it made up 18%. For books that I've read that I purchased this year, that's 9 books, which made up 6%. For books that I just owned already and have read, that's 9 books, which made up another 6%. For books that were gifts, that's 5 books, and it was 3%. And for books that I read off of Everand, which used to be known as Scribd, that's 8 books, and for a total of 5%. Everand I mostly use for obscure horror books. Like, it's not my most favorite platform to read books on, especially because they're like, unlimited books. That's a lie. I don't know if they still use that rhetoric, but that's a lie. I still like them, but anyway. Talking about my ratings, each year I think I get a little bit more honest about my ratings, and when I implemented the call pile system, I think that really, really helped with me being honest, and again, each year I am more and more honest about it. I also think using this system where I'm like putting my books in something and writing it down allows me to actually like digest more about what I read, and if something made me feel really, really good or really, really bad, I write it down, and then I can also use that review, that note, whatever, in my call pile system to like really think about how I'm going to rate it. So with that being said, 25 of my books were a 5-star read, which made up 17% of my reading. 75 of my books were a 4-star read, which made up 52% of my rating. Trust me, it is me being more honest. I just know what I like to read. 1 book was a 3.5-star read, which made up 1%. 27 books were a 3-star read, which made up 19%. 1 book was a 2.5-star read, which made up 1%. 11 books were a 2-star read, which made up 8%, and 4 books were a 1-star read, which made up 3%. And this one's kind of cool to me, personally. I haven't DNF'd any books this year, so far. Really impressive. There were a few books that I was like, wow, I should have just not finished reading this. But I haven't DNF'd anything this year, which is genuinely very surprising. I usually have DNF'd at least 1 or 2 books. So for all of the haters that say that I only read for clout and that DNFs shouldn't count, well, baby, this time I don't have any DNFs to count, so what now? What now about my reading numbers? The chances of me getting being at 150 books by the end of June is really high, realistically. I know right now I'm at 147 and I have some books that I'm still reading, but I have a whole week left of June as of filming this. So there's a chance I get to 150 by end of June, which means that like I might hit 300 books this year, and I don't want to hit 300 books this year, but there's a chance. Anyway, for my reason for reading, I think the stat is fun. That's really it. I just think that it's fun. I think it's fun to see like why I'm picking up books and what the purpose is. I read 106 books just for funsies, which made up 75% of my reading. I didn't have any review copies, and I didn't buddy read anything with my husband so far this year. For books that I read specifically for YouTube, we have 15, which was 11% of my reading. For books that were for personal development, which would fall into that nonfiction category just a bit, we have 6 books, which was 4%. For readathon books, because I did have participated in 2 readathons this year, which is surprising. I usually only participate in my own, but this year I participated in Sapphic Spring, which was really fun. My friends Lexi and Landis host that, and because they do Sapphic September, and it was really fun. I had a lot of fun. Anyway, that made up 14. That was 14 books, which made up 10% of my reading. My books I read for book club, we have 3, and that made up 2%. And books that I buddy read, I think I only buddy read for books with Art and Ollie, and like I actually know that these are just books with Art and Ollie, so that was 3 books, and that made up 2% of my reading. And that is my mid-year checkup, check-in, wrap-up, whatever you want to call it. I'm really pleased with the way that my reading is going this year. I think every year I get a little bit more honest in my reviews, a little bit better at picking out books that I enjoy, a little bit better about setting goals for what I want to read, like adult books, nonfiction books, etc., and following through with that. I also think I have gotten a lot better about purchasing books or not purchasing books, and saving my money because I don't have any money to spend at the moment. So I'm very pleased with how all of that has come along. I'm very pleased with all of these stats. I think that it's a really good year so far. I think something I want to track next year maybe is language that the book is in, because I want to start reading more books in Spanish, because I've read some graphic novels in Spanish, and I want to try doing chapter books by the end of this year in Spanish, but that's a bit of a lofty goal, so we'll see. But I do think that if I do get there and it's something I continue to do, then I should start tracking the language that the book I'm reading is in. I think it could be interesting. Anyway, that's it. Those are the books. Those are the stats, rather. That's it. Yeah, stat heavy video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that this gave you some insight on what my reading looks like and what I do, like how I don't know, balance all of this, do all of this, how all of this makes sense in the grand scheme of the way that I track things and read things. If it didn't, let me know how I can explain something better, especially for my end of the year wrap up, because it will follow a similar format. So if there's anything about this that you would like to be different, let me know in the comments down below. I would love to try and make it better. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share. Every interaction helps with the channel, obviously. And I think that is it. I will talk to you guys later. I post videos every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, except for the first full week of the month, because taking breaks is important. So I will see you guys on Thursday. Don't forget to take your meds, drink your water, and do something today to take care of yourselves. Okay, thanks, bye.